This video is sponsored by War Thunder. It's 3 a.m. While the world around you has become dark, silent, and still from that taste of death that is sleep, you are still awake. Maybe you enjoy the sort of solitude only the deep night can provide you, or maybe you just can't sleep. In any event, you've decided that this time is an apt one to watch some spooky stuff on YouTube. And so you sit in a quiet dark room, listening to tales of disturbing 4chan threads and Reddit mysteries, each one promising you a good scare. But more unsettling than the videos themselves are the ads. They're bright, loud, and in the late hours of the night, they just feel abrasive, almost acting like jump scares when put in the middle of otherwise quiet and serene media. After finishing a video, you click on another one, expecting yet another jarring and intrusive commercial. With this time, you don't get that. What you do get is much stranger. For the last 2 years, sporadic reports of strange YouTube ads such as these have been popping up every now and then on various platforms. They seem to appear mostly on channels focused around dark media, with the most commonly reported creators being Nick Crowley, Windigoon, and Nexpo, with the one we just watched apparently appearing on Nexpo's Darkest Lost Media Volume 2 from 2023. The ad itself uses concerningly alarmist language, informing the viewer to arm themselves against their enemies, and alluding to some hidden knowledge, which I'm assuming is the product that's being advertised here. The clip ends with the phrase, "Tomorrow is our profession." As many internet users who have stumbled across this strange ad write, the company supposedly running these commercials is called the Latent World Program, and they have several ads done in this same style, like this one.
From the dawn of time, man has...
This one, again, uses alarmist messaging to allude to some future conflict or breakdown of society. But while the last ad ended with the slogan, this one ends with a set of coordinates, which leads to a property in Los Angeles, one that's apparently a former Cold War nuclear bunker which was once used to film American propaganda, but is now owned by Jared Leto. Before we get too far down any weird rabbit holes here, I think it's time I bring up the elephant in the room. If it isn't already glaringly apparent, this is all very obviously an analog horror project. I don't think I need to explain to you why a video presented in this particular style is anything but internet horror fiction. You're probably already pretty used to seeing this sort of thing and can recognize it just as easily as I can. And sure enough, clicking on any of these ads brings you to the creator's channel, Gloomy Text and Media, who is advertising their analog horror project called Tuesday Tapes. The series is an anthology focusing on strange events that supposedly occurred in the late 90s and 2000s. I'm not going to spoil it here since it's not a widely known project, but I think it's well done. While the ads are a little cliche, the longer shorts that make up the meat of the project manages to do something a little different than other analog horror projects, feeling more like something from a VHS movie rather than yet another disturbing broadcast slideshow. I recommend checking it out. Even if the ads are obviously a work of fiction when you analyze them in isolation, they still manage to disturb a lot of people. It's one thing to click on an analog horror video on YouTube knowing full well it's a work of fiction. It's another thing to receive that same thing but present it to you as a real ad. There's an expectation that commercials are advertising real things. After all, many of the ads you get on YouTube aren't all that different than the commercials you see on TV, which are expensive to buy and regulated by broadcasters. But what you might not know is that YouTube is not like this. YouTube ads are much cheaper than you would think, and anybody can buy an ad for just about anything. Gloomy Text and Media managed to find a creative and unconventional way to advertise their horror project, but lately people have used YouTube ads in much more disturbing ways. not only blatantly skirting around YouTube's community guidelines with clearly objectionable content advertising outright scams, but people have also used these advertisements to hurt others. In this video, analog horror is by far the most innocent example we're touching. Everything from here on out is going to be examples of people misusing the system that not only pays YouTube, but also all the creators who watch, including myself. If you browse through any YouTube-focused communities on the internet, like the YouTube subreddit for example, you'll notice a lot of posts recently complaining about scummy ads. As of late, this problem seems to have gotten really bad, and today we're going to analyze some of these advertisements to see if we can make sense of why it's gotten to this point. But before we get into that, we need to go over a bit of history to figure out how we even got here. Because believe it or not, sleazy ads hasn't always been as big of a problem on YouTube as it is now. Back when YouTube first launched, the site didn't really have any solid foundation set in stone to generate revenue. The only ad placements that existed at the time were individually negotiated brand deals, like when Fox inked a deal with YouTube and Paris Hilton to advertise the show Prison Break on her channel. These ad placements would be few and far between, however, and they didn't amount to any substantial revenue for the platform, which had been racking up enormous and unsustainable storage and bandwidth bills. This accounting imbalance and shaky revenue model no doubt played a big part in the platform accepting Google's $1.6 billion buyout in late 2006. Google had already long figured out how to monetize an internet platform. Their AdWords program was effectively a self-serve advertising network that allowed marketers to narrow down their audience demographics by basically any metric. Whenever a user who fit the right criteria used Google, AdWords would choose whichever applicable ad was willing to pay the highest price to have their advertisement sit alongside organic search results. In that same calculation, they would also take into account how many users had clicked on each ad already, favoring advertisements that were more likely to be clicked on. This made for a system that not only incentivized advertisers to pay the highest possible price, but it also made for high quality and relevant ads that users were more likely to pay attention to. This was the model Google had originally molded the YouTube Partner Program after. Channels that had garnered a significant audience could apply to have ads shown alongside their videos. They didn't have to negotiate any deals themselves, they would only have to share a portion of their revenue with Google. Companies would use AdWords to create YouTube ads in the exact same manner as they would for search ads, with the process being completely self-serve. In this 2007 article from Wired detailing the launch of the Partner Program, they mentioned that a channel can earn several $1,000s from 1 million page views, which, accounting for inflation, actually holds somewhat true today, although videos tend to have many more ads nowadays than they did in 2007. The Partner Program was a massive success, and it led to a new job being created: YouTuber. It was now a viable career for independent creatives to make silly videos for their fans to watch, and the average content on the site slowly transformed from goofy off-the-cuff camcorder skits filmed in mom's basement to the slick, polished professional content you're used to seeing now. Alongside this corporatization, Google was also busy developing and improving their ad platform. Throughout the 2010s, they would launch basically every ad format you're used to seeing now, like skippable pre-roll ads and interrupted mid-roll ads for longer videos. All in all, the program is a huge success. I'm sure you don't enjoy watching commercials, but YouTube's system was and is the absolute best way for a budding video maker to monetize their popularity. But as impressive as it is, there is a problem with it. One that started rearing its ugly head back in the middle of the 2010s. Like I mentioned earlier, AdWords is completely self-serve. During the entire process, the only human involved is the person setting up the advertisement. While Google does technically need to approve your ad, it does so with an automated system. This means, theoretically, you could pay a ton of money to show almost anything you want to a massive amount of people, as long as it passes the automated review. Do you think there's any chance somebody might decide to use this system in the wrong way? Back in 2015, users watching innocent videos would be jump scared by the following ad. Click, skip, and die. Click, skip, and die. Click, skip, and die. If there's one thing that's changed the course of warfare throughout history more than anything else, it's vehicles. First there are chariots, then ships, tanks, aircraft. I find when playing video games centered around war, vehicles always seem to be a bit of an afterthought in favor of the on-the-ground FPS mechanics. War Thunder, the sponsor of today's video, fills in that gap beautifully. War Thunder is a free-to-play large-scale multiplayer online action game available on PC, console, and mobile that's specifically centered around fighting battles and various types of combat vehicles. And trust me, you've got a lot to choose from. War Thunder boasts 2,500 different tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 different major nations. War Thunder's put a ton of effort into making super accurate digital reproductions of these different models of combat vehicles, which come from many different industrialized eras of warfare, ranging from the biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. Immerse yourself in the intense combat of War Thunder, where incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound effects place you right at the helm of the most powerful war machines of our time. War Thunder lets you operate so many different kinds of vehicles, and all you need is a mouse and keyboard, an Xbox or PlayStation, or even just a phone. That's right, War Thunder is now also available on Android and iOS, boasting an intuitive control system specifically designed for mobile. So why not join the other 95 million players that are fighting epic PvP battles today, and dive into the breathtaking experience that is War Thunder. There's no better game out there for fans of military history. You can download for free using my links in the description and pinned comment. All new players and those who haven't played War Thunder for 6 months or more will receive a massive bonus pack across PC and consoles, including 100,000 Silver Lions, a special Eagle of Valor vehicle decorator, and 7 days of premium account. Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. This is from a guerrilla marketing campaign for the Screen TV series. The video features a fake click to skip button, just like the one on the YouTube player when an ad is being shown, and also a creepy face accompanied by many voices whispering, "Click, skip, and die." This would scare a lot of people and would live in the minds of users as a 6-second fever dream, with this 2016 post on the Lost Media Wiki debating if the ad even existed in the first place. I'm not bringing this to your attention because it's necessarily that scary or interesting, but it is the earliest example I could find of someone using YouTube ads in an unconventional manner, and it would certainly not be the last. I don't think there was any specific catalyst to this happening, but in the mid to late 2010s, people began to catch on that you could run pretty much anything as a YouTube ad, and you didn't need to be a big company spending big money to do it. You could spend $200 and you would get your video put in front of thousands of people. This is a very low barrier to entry, and paired with a fully automated and seemingly lax approval process, it was a recipe for disaster. Over time, YouTube would become flooded with questionable and sleazy ads completely unlike the commercials you would see on television, one of them being this one. This pre-roll autoplay ad shows low-quality Ring camera footage of a woman screaming for help as she resuscitates a small child on the ground. Luckily, the boy does come to and everything seems to be okay. This commercial is advertising a product called LifeVac, a device that can be used to stop a child from choking. This is apparently a real clip of an unconscious child being rescued with this device, but without any sort of editing or polishing except for those odd black squares in the corner. This is just downright disturbing. It's like YouTube decided to show you a portion of a shock video as an advertisement. Imagine you're putting on a Peppa Pig video for your kids and instead you're shown grainy security camera footage of a woman screaming for help. This commercial may be questionable ethically, but at least it is advertising a real product and it does technically follow YouTube's community guidelines, even if it's disturbing. The ads we're about to talk about do not follow YouTube's guidelines and do not advertise legitimate products either. And judging by what I see every day in the YouTube subreddit, they seem to be the most common kinds of ads people are getting right now on YouTube. I'm sure you can guess where we're about to go. The world of advertising and marketing is one that's constantly shifting and transforming to keep up with the ever-changing landscape of consumerism. But if there's just one thing that stayed constant throughout the years, it's that sex sells. When the Industrial Revolution first kicked off the modern art of marketing and advertisements in the mid-1800s, provocative imagery was already a key part of it. It makes sense. A successful ad is one that will grab your attention, and what exactly turns your head more than a beautiful woman? As such, we're all very used to seeing sex used as a method to sell products, but have you ever considered just how provocative imagery is used? You may assume you just need to slap a scantily clad woman next to whatever you're selling and call it a day, but it's actually not quite as simple. Studies show that people forget what they saw in an advertisement twice as easily if too much provocative imagery is used. The theory behind this effect is that sexual stimuli may create a sort of psychological numbing effect. Or in other words, it just makes you a little stupid. This means brands take careful consideration of how much and how little sexual content they use in their commercials. They want a consumer to remember what they saw and then go act on that knowledge in the future. That's the goal of traditional advertising, to plant ideas in your head. And making your consumer's brain go monkey mode is not the best way to do that. But you know what a monkey brain is great for? Clicking. You have to keep in mind that the goals of internet ads are different than those of traditional commercials. Brand awareness is obviously always important, but internet ads are specifically built to get you to click right then and there. You don't need to remember what you saw and then go to a store and buy something. The ad literally only needs to be effective enough in that moment for you to click on it. This is what led to all those sort of fake, you're the 1 millionth visitor you get a prize ads in the 2000s, and it's what led to all those fake product ads you see right now from Temu. It doesn't matter if the content is deceiving because the only thing they want is for you to click on the ad. Combine this with sex, and suddenly you're being flooded with hot MILFs in your area and pills that can double the length of your member. Scammy sex ads have been a constant on the internet as long as it's been around. On YouTube though, I'm not actually sure when it started. I've personally been using YouTube since 2007, and I don't really remember seeing nearly as many questionable ads back then as I'm seeing nowadays. But I can find articles complaining about the problem that go all the way back to 2008. I do think that the issue likely got a lot worse when people started using YouTube ads in more non-traditional ways, so I'll make an estimate that this problem probably started to rear its head in a big way in the late 2010s. These ads are shocking. They range from gooner and fetish TikToks to what appears to be brazenly cropped full-on pornography. One weird thing you'll notice is that the ads themselves often don't really have anything to do with the products they're pushing. Very rarely will you see the actual product featured or mentioned in the ad. If you were to download the video files for these advertisements, you wouldn't even know they're commercials. You would just assume they're clips taken from some not safe for work subreddit, which actually leads into a theory I have. I think almost all of these videos are stolen and are being used without permission. We're going to investigate that a little bit. Pages I could find referencing Tito AI were entries in App Store archive sites, meaning that this was likely an iPhone app at one time but apparently doesn't exist anymore. According to the description, it seems that Tito AI used to be a chatbot that would roleplay as your assistant to help you discover alien life. It's not entirely clear, but from what I can gather, I think it's supposed to be like the computer from Star Trek or something. This archive also saves some of the reviews, many of which seem to say that it's a great platform if you're lonely, and it's a good place to have conversations with people. It's possible that the description for this app is misleading and the app itself was something entirely different, and that could have possibly contributed to its removal from the internet. But I guess we're never really going to know. The developer is Chinese and doesn't have any sort of official internet presence nor any other apps. I can't say for sure, but everything here is screaming scam to me. The second company using this model's video is called Pumi, and surprise surprise, it's another AI chatbot app. One that apparently allows you to speak with many unique characters. Again, this one appears to have been removed from the internet and was also created by some mystery developer with no internet presence. I'm beginning to notice a trend, but let's investigate one more ad just to make sure. This one is very similar. A woman is pictured doing something suggestive off screen. Doing an image back search reveals that this is another OnlyFans creator, and the product being advertised here is called Shosi. Again, it's an app that isn't around anymore, with the only traces of it ever existing in the first place only being this ad and a single entry in an App Store archive website. This one says it's a platform dedicated to sharing the beauty of traditional jewelry and the rich cultural stories behind it, which is a far cry from the tagline of the commercial, which reads, "Stop being lonely, call me." Again, the developer has no internet presence and is effectively anonymous. Every ad I investigated led to some sort of scammy looking AI chat app that doesn't exist anymore. But right now we're chasing stale leads. If we really want to investigate this, we're going to have to find one of these porn ads out in the wild. I'll admit I've been a YouTube Premium user for a very long time now, so for this experiment I made a fresh account and started scrolling through YouTube Shorts until I got a sleazy ad featuring stolen OnlyFans content. That took me about 10 minutes when I came across this ad. It features two women groping each other with one subtly undressing the other. The app being advertised here is called Kavi. When I clicked on it, I was brought to an App Store page featuring reviews that all said fake app. After downloading it, I was prompted to make an account, which I did using a burner email. Unfortunately, the app actually blocks all screen recording and screenshots, and I didn't really notice that until I had already set up an account and started using it. But suffice to say, Kavi appears to be some sort of scam version of Tinder. You get shown different profiles of pretty women, and whether you swipe right or not, you'll match anyways. These women will then start conversations with you and they'll immediately make it sexual, even requesting you to send them risque pictures, which, considering the nature of this app, could potentially be used for some pretty dark purposes. After a little bit, a message will pop up telling you that you need to purchase a premium account to continue chatting, which costs $25 a month. The scam is pretty obvious. Unsuspecting, naive individuals in a certain state of mind will download this app and fork over the cash to continue chatting with horny clankers in their area, and they might possibly make themselves victims of blackmail if they decide to give in and send nudes. It's no wonder these apps keep getting taken down because they're outright scams at best and brazenly criminal blackmail schemes at worst. It would seem these ads are just slipping through the cracks of the automatic approval process, and even if they do eventually get taken down, they've likely already done some damage just being on YouTube at all. This has already gotten a little dark, but what if I told you that it gets worse? People have used YouTube ads to advertise far worse things than fraud, and this next topic is an example of that. In the early 2020s, young people using YouTube would begin occasionally receiving this strange ad.
Again, and we're at her board. So we're at her board where other people have written their messages, and you can write her a message using that upper rectangle, and you can go to her pics section on the left-hand side. The column on the left-hand side, we're at her pics now. That's that link.
The commercial depicts an old man showing us how to use some crude-looking website, which resembles an image board like 4chan, but seems to have some added social media style features like profiles and news feeds. Clicking on the ad would redirect you to the site itself, which looks something like this. It's called Teenertake, and it describes itself as a website where young people from ages 13 to 22 can get together and express their thoughts and takes on different topics. You can grade your teachers, you can grade your high school, and you can even talk about sports. It would appear that this is some sort of makeshift Facebook-style site aimed towards young people. On the surface, this mostly just seems odd and possibly a little creepy, but it's when you look at the names of the images on the right side of the page where the dark undertones of this site becomes clear.
Cutie.jpg, hottie-in-chair.jpg.
Whether or not these two young women are of age doesn't really matter. This site is mostly aimed towards minors, and having two pictures labeled cutie and hottie sitting right next to an age range that mostly consists of ages less than 18 is not exactly a good sign. But it gets even worse. The YouTube account that originally posted these ads has now been lost to time, but at one point it consisted of short tutorials showing you how to use the different sections of Teenertake. The tutorials themselves were mundane and not really worthy of talking about. It's the background footage the site's creator decided to use that's of concern here.
I'm going to talk about Charlottesville, Virginia now. I want to look at what went on there. First of all, the legislators in...
This isn't one of the original tutorials, it's a video that comes from a second channel that's still live which discusses politics and current events. But the background footage is the same as in the main channel. Behind the site's creator is voyeur footage of teenagers on the street that's clearly been secretly filmed at a distance. Internet sleuths would uncover that these clips were all filmed in a college district of Tucson, Arizona. While the videos do consist of both genders, there is a clear emphasis on young women in particular, with all these videos specifically featuring thumbnails depicting teenage girls. I'm sure you're starting to form a certain opinion about what this guy might be up to, but if you want to fuel that fire a bit, just take a look at some of the tags he used on his YouTube ads.
Teenager, high school, nude, topless, sexy, chat room.
These are not innocent keywords used to describe a social media website that's aimed towards children. By the way, big shout out to Eudoxia Mysteries who luckily captured those tags before the Teenertake YouTube channel was taken down. Posts about Teenertake would flood Twitter and various subreddits, with a subreddit dedicated to investigating the site also being created in 2021. A lot of stir will be caused around the site's privacy policy, which include a lot of information. This is one part of the story that I do find a little puzzling. This really isn't a very unusual privacy policy. This is about as much data as you would give a platform like Facebook or Instagram. I don't know why people were so surprised that a social media site would keep all the info that they ask you to give them. Why do you think they're asking you in the first place? Also, considering that this site mostly seems to be run by just this one guy, you should probably assume that whatever you're uploading to Teenertake, whether it's photos or personal information, is probably being saved somewhere and being read by this guy. By the way, who is this? Searching Teenertake on Google will bring you to a trademark registration page. This site was apparently trademarked all the way back in 2014 by a Robert Tommaso. This isn't a doc since this is all publicly available and easy to find information, but users of the subreddit did fully dox this guy, which I'm not going to show you. The Teenertake subreddit would eventually put an end to this situation. The site would be taken offline in 2022, and all official social media associated with it would also be reported and taken down, with the exception of that one current events channel I mentioned earlier. The Teenertake subreddit would also go private after having accomplished its mission. It's nice to see the internet come together and actually get some results, but just what was the purpose of Teenertake? While some people speculated that maybe this was the attempts of a predator to find children to potentially prey on, I have a different theory. I believe that Teenertake was an attempt to gather photos of children. If you look through the remaining footage of Teenertake tutorials, there's clearly a very large emphasis put on photos on the website. I wouldn't be surprised if the creator might have been expecting children to be sending each other potentially compromising photos of themselves, which could possibly be stored somewhere that the creator might possibly be able to access themselves. I mean, the privacy policy does explicitly say that all the photos you post are collected, which might imply that they're not encrypted and are easily able to be read by somebody who has admin access to the site's data. The fact that this site was taken down could potentially confirm that something shady was indeed going on, but we've never actually received proper confirmation of that, at least any that remains outside the now privated subreddit. If you participate in the investigation at all and have some knowledge about this situation that I don't, I would love to hear it. Before I end out this video, I do want to answer one question that a lot of you probably have. Why does it seem like anything goes with YouTube ads? Why is YouTube so heavy-handed when it comes to demonetizing creators, but advertisers seem to get away with putting up literal porn clips? The answer is actually quite simple. You see, creators have to spend a lot of time building up a reputation for a specific channel. You have to upload successful video after successful video for years to garner an audience on this platform, and getting one demonetization or community guideline strike can put everything you've built at risk. This means creators are usually very careful to not get hit. They have a lot to lose. Advertisers, though, are in a completely different situation. They also have to follow YouTube's guidelines, but they don't really have anything to lose. Their reach is not determined by the audience they've accumulated, but rather the amount of money they're spending on one particular ad. This means that if they break the guidelines in a major way and get their AdWords account banned, they can simply open a new one with different information and do the same thing all over again. A YouTuber can't nearly as easily just make a new channel and get the same amount of reach. It would take a massive amount of time and effort to regain all their fans. This makes it seem on a cursory glance that YouTube is treating creators and advertisers differently, but that's not really the case. You should also remember that risque regular videos which break the guidelines often get a ton of views on the platform before being taken down, but again, these are almost always posted by new anonymous channels that have nothing to lose. No established YouTuber is going to risk their livelihood by doing something stupid like that. It is obviously ridiculous when us YouTubers get demonetized for just saying specific words, but we also tend to go a little overboard with self-censoring because of the stories we hear. For example, it's never actually been against the community guidelines to say the word suicide. It only is if you're somehow glorifying the concept. That didn't stop every YouTuber for years, including myself, from avoiding saying the word though because of all the stories we heard from others who lost their paychecks because of it. Might as well avoid saying it. Better be safe than sorry, right? Anyways guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for making it to the end. We'll be back at the end of the month for a sort of Halloween special, but until then, take care. Thanks again for watching guys, and thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check it out for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile using my links in the pinned comment or in the description. New and returning players who haven't logged in for half a year or longer will receive that huge bonus pack I mentioned before across PC and consoles, including multiple premium vehicles and other goodies. That's only for a limited time though, so make sure to sign up before it's gone. Have a good night guys.